tell me why. Why is Minasu at the bottom? Hey guys, this is Angela. Subscribe so we can become besties. This is literally a visual representation of what we'll be the moment you hit the subscribe button. And with that being said, this is episode 7 of Singles Inferno. So let's just get right into the video, shall we? In the last episode, we had the guys fighting tooth and nail in order to see who would win the special date that they would have, which is basically chicken and beer. Hyunwoo, the quiet but buff guy, he ends up taking first place, and he decides, obviously, that he wants to have this date with Go-eun. But the problem now here comes with Sung-il, who gets in second place, so now we're trying to see if he's going to choose Minasu or Min-ji. So now that we're at this big grand final decision, it turns out that Sung-il decides that he's going to have his date with Min-ji. And I was so happy because, like I said in the last episode, I feel like Sung-il, yes, although he keeps on choosing between Minasu and Min-ji, whenever it's most important, he always ends up picking Minasu. So I was really glad that in this moment he chose Min-ji, and this is especially because of two reasons. One, Min-ji, you can tell if you compare her from the first day that she was here to now, she definitely seems way more insecure in herself and lacks the confidence that she came in with. And two, I 100% feel like Sung-il, the next chance he gets to go to paradise, he's gonna choose Minasu. So until then, you might as well take Min-ji out for the little smaller dates. But after hearing this, Min-ji literally almost starts crying, which kind of just shows how on edge she was about this whole situation and whether or not she thought that Sung-il was going to pick her or Minasu. And even when they go back to the barracks or wherever everybody sleeps at night, Min-ji keeps talking about how cool Sung-il was. And everybody's excited for her, but guys, I do just be saying whatever's on my mind. I kind of wonder if they would have reacted the same way if it was Sung-il who chose Minasu over Min-ji. But then Minasu goes to go talk to Ye-jin, who's the quiet girl who we don't really see much of because she hasn't made many connections. And she goes over there for her advice before she inevitably decides that she's going to go talk to Sung-il. But I can't help but notice this pattern when it comes to Minasu, where whenever she wants to go ahead and do something, she makes sure to go ahead and tell somebody about what she's going to do, so that way when she actually does the things that she wants to do, she has an alibi for her intentions. At least that's how it seems to me, because she stayed talking to all these people like, should I do this, should I do this, knowing damn well she knows exactly that she's going to go do that. You know you're gonna go do that. Why are you coming over here talking about something? I need your advice. Should I pursue them? Should I follow my heart? Who the fuck is gonna say no, don't do that? And especially on top of that, she always spins it to be her narrative. Well, like, of course, who wouldn't spin it to be their own narrative? But like, you're outwardly doing all these things that you know are messed up, but then you go over here acting like you had the purest intentions, and then you go ahead and you tell these people what you plan to do just so that they can back up your actions. I peeped that shit. So now that Minasu has gotten her green light, she goes ahead and she pulls Sung-il over for a private chat, when mind you, she pulls him for this chat as Min-ji is getting ready for her date with Sung-il. And Min-ji hears her calling Sung-il out from the place that she's getting ready at, and she says that she can't help but feel mad and upset about it. But we move over to Go-eun's private date with Hyunwoo, the quiet but buff guy, who literally just won this whole competition in order to take Go-eun out on this date. And Go-eun is talking about how throughout the entire time that Hyunwoo was fighting all the other guys, Minasu was talking about just how great his physique was. And so after she says this, Hyunwoo is like, did that bother you? And Go-eun doesn't say yes or no, but instead she says, I just agreed with her silently. And I gotta hand it to you, Mina, you didn't lie about that. What kind of physique do you guys like the most? Like, I like to tell myself that I like guys with like a smaller, slimmer physique with like a smaller waist, but my heart betrays me. I know I like them big and buff. Look at me talking about men's physique so casually. I am playing a pivotal role when it comes to women in men-dominated fields. But right after Go-eun says that she just agreed with her silently, Hyunwoo goes ahead and tells her right away, don't worry, I'm not gonna fall for her. Which is just such the perfect response. Like, he ate with that one. Because Go-eun knows that Minasu is now interested in Hyunwoo, because even though she wasn't in the room at the time, she said it and she's already made her move on him already. So I feel like Hyunwoo saying this was the perfect way to reassure Go-eun that he's still fully 100% interested in her. And then on top of this, even after saying that, he said that he's not going to go to paradise with anybody other than her. So I guess this means that Min-ji is now completely off of his radar. And then, as per usual, he takes pride in his left hand, because he goes ahead and he tells Go-eun that, I checked every single guy up in this place, I'm the only left-handed person here. And again, he says this because Go-eun has already said in the past that her type is somebody who's left-handed. Meanwhile, we move over to Min-ji and Sung-il's date with their little chicken and beer, and Min-ji tells Sung-il to his face that she was cursing him and hoping that he would lose because she didn't want to deal with the reality of him choosing between her and Minasu. And Sung-il admits to her that he was torn at first, but he figured that he'd go ahead and choose the girl that he was most interested in, which to him at this moment is Min-ji. And then on top of this, he said that he specifically chose Min-ji because she had just been talking about how she was craving chicken the night before. And this Sung-il guy, like, I feel like I'm on a roller coaster with him, because he keeps on losing points and then gaining points and then losing points and then gaining points. But if you guys want to know where I stand with him right now, it's like a slight negative. I feel like he played too much. Like, I feel like he's been very honest, but like not honest at the same time. I feel like, to me, even though he keeps on saying that he's into Min-ji, his actions keep on making me feel like otherwise. It feels like he's like 70% into Minasu, but he knows that Minasu isn't really looking at him the way that he wants her to. And because of the fact that he knows that Min-ji is always there there, he can always have her as a backup, and so he always just kind of feeds her attention a little bit to keep her interested, but overall his attention is towards Minasu. So he kind of leaves a little bad taste in my mouth. I'm not rooting for him. I'm really not. I'm rooting for Minji, which is the reason why I'm rooting for them together, but I'm not rooting for Sung-il in order to get with Minji, if that makes sense. But then Minji asks the real question afterwards, which is basically, okay, but if the reward wasn't just this date with chicken and beer, but instead it was to go to paradise, would you have chosen Minasu over me? And Sung-il answers honestly, he says, yes, I would have chose Minasu over you. And again, I can't even be mad because he's been pretty obvious about this. Like, even if we go back to the campfire, he said that if he was going to go to paradise, would he go with somebody new or somebody old? He said somebody new, and that would mean Minasu. Later, they're having dinner together, and Subin is still showing a lot of attention and care towards Hee-sun, and as per usual, Minasu is still paying attention to them. But then Ju-young, with the nice smile and the dimples, she starts talking about how she feels like the sunset feels prettier at Inferno rather than how it looks at Paradise. And then Hyunjae, you know, he be taking every single opportunity he can get. He quickly takes his chance and he's just like, well, I think that you look even prettier, Ju-young. And I'm like, Hyunjae, stop it. Like, literally stop it. You're literally making me blush. Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, there's people around here. He is so smooth. Ugh. But it seems like Hyunjae and Jae-in are very, very nice and very sincere when it comes to Ju-young. So it really is just a shame that it seems like Ju-young is overall more interested in Jae-jin. But Minasu goes ahead and she asks the newer guy, Lee-gun, how his time at Paradise was. And he goes ahead and he says that it was really, really great, which of course captures Seungmin's attention because he's interested in Go-eun. Now on the flip side of things, the newer female participant, Ha-eun, starts talking about how her time at Paradise was, and she keeps going on and on and on about how she thought that Jae-jin was so funny and everything, and this ends up piquing Ju-young's interest because she's interested in Jae-jin, and she looks visibly upset and not happy. Then we move forward with time, and now we see that Sung-hoon and Minasu are on a seesaw together, and again they're having this conversation about whether or not they're fully friends or if there's something romantic between them. And once again, Minasu is leaning towards just friendly, while Sung-hoon is leaning towards romantic. And then another snippet that happens is that we also get a look into Go-eun's mind, and since she, Go-eun, and Ye-jin went to Paradise together, they've also been hanging out together outside of Paradise as well, now that they're back in Inferno, and she says that she can't help but wonder whether or not Go-eun is more interested in her or if he's more interested in Ye-jin. Then we move over to Go-eun having a private conversation with Seungmin, the guy who I think is pretty boring, and she's talking about how when she was in Paradise with Lee-gun, the newer guy, she was joking around and talking about how he kept saying that she had a dummy look to her. So keeping that little joking vibe going, she goes ahead and she asks Seungmin whether or not he thinks that she's the dummy type, and Seungmin answers very objectively rather than going along with the joke, and he's basically saying like, no, I don't get those vibes from you at all. I feel like you're very smart and I feel like you're very intelligent, something like that, you know? And Go-eun ends up saying out loud that she wants to make Seungmin anxious over the fact that she's hanging out with another guy, but he doesn't seem to be anxious about that. But I'm like, Go-eun, I know you remember that time when you were having your little private conversation with Hyun-woo, and then Seungmin's ass came over there pulling up a chair, sat his little ass down talking about some, can I join this conversation? And now you're talking about you feel like he doesn't get anxious whenever you're talking to other guys. He is the anxious guy when it comes to you talking to other guys. And then the panelists said that they feel like Lee-gun is Go-eun's top choice, but in my opinion, in the way I see things, again, I keep on saying it, I don't want it to be true, but how I see it, I feel like Seungmin is Go-eun's top choice. So I'm trying to get into her mind and see where she's coming from that she's so interested in him. So like the way I understand it, I can see the appeal of him because even though he doesn't like give any effort to other people, being as Go-eun is actually the target of his affection, you can say that he's always taking care of her, he's never looking at other girls, he's had eyes on her since the very beginning, so I feel like for Go-eun, it would seem like he was very attractive. Meanwhile, we move over to a conversation with Ju-young with a pretty smile, and Jae-jin, our little quirky guy, and she goes ahead and she starts asking him about his time at Paradise since he went with the new girl Ha-eun the day earlier. And he's keeping it honest and basically digging his own grave by talking about how nice it was, but then he immediately pulls himself back out because he pulls out a Polaroid that he took of a flower that he specifically took in order to show Ju-young. And so by giving her this flower, this is basically saying, yeah, I went ahead and I went to Paradise with another girl, but while I was there, I was thinking of you. Because Ju-young has said in the past how much she likes flowers, and it has to do with her job as well. And of course, this obviously makes Ju-young very happy. Meanwhile, Hee-sun is having a conversation with Ye-jin, the quiet girl we don't hear much of, and she's basically opening up to Ye-jin over the fact that she doesn't know if Subin's intentions and his affection towards her is genuine or if he's just using her in order to make Minasu jealous. But then as she starts talking about this, Minasu actually ends up walking into the room where they're at, which leads to their conversation being cut short. But Hee-sun ends up leaving the room, and unlike what I thought, which is that she was gonna go talk to Soo-bin, she actually ends up talking to the newer guy, Egon, instead. And then the moment that Minasu sees that Hee-sun is busy and that Soo-bin is free, she goes ahead and she grabs Soo-bin so that they can have a private conversation. So Minasu asks Soo-bin if there's somebody that he's interested in right now, and Soo-bin says that if he's being honest, he's very interested in Hee-sun. And Minasu is like, okay, that's fine, but please don't ignore me too much, try to give me some affection too. And Soo-bin is like, I don't ignore you though. And Minasu is like, you treat me like a stranger. And I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, yeah you do, Soo-bin. I'm not gonna sit here and say that you've been talking to her very nicely. So now after addressing this elephant in the room, Soo-bin starts talking about how he thought that the feelings between them was mutual, but then he started questioning this when he found out that he wasn't even one of the people that she wanted to get to know. And he said that ever since that time, every single time they spoke to each other, he felt like what she was saying wasn't sincere. But again, just like last time, after Soo-bin ends up bringing up all these things that he's worried and upset about, instead of Minasu actually addressing it, she just ends up bringing up her own grievances as well. So she starts talking about how she feels wronged and how she feels like she even went up and out of her way to go ahead and go talk to him, but he keeps on ignoring her left and right and not giving her the time of day. And low-key, they're not addressing anything, but the conversation ends with them mutually apologizing to each other over how they acted during the little conversation they had in the hut, which is essentially where Soo-bin called Minasu out for being a hypocrite. And now that they've actually properly made up, unlike how they did when they were in the hut before, tell me why this Soo-bin guy, oh my gosh, he does a complete 180 right there, like I'm witnessing it in real time. And since they all made up, he's talking about how his feelings for her didn't actually 100% disappear, and he's always looking towards her and he's always caring about her. It's just that he didn't want to show it because he was still upset with her. So now Minasu's just smiling and they're all giggling and they're literally just flirting with each other right away. And Soo-bin's even talking about how like, oh my gosh, it was so obvious that you were just putting up a front in front of me and you're trying to pretend that you didn't care about me anymore whenever you stomped off. But since it was so obvious to me, I just thought that it was very cute and endearing. So yeah, they basically make up. And objectively, despite the fact that I feel like she has a very bad problem when it comes to addressing her actions, from what I was watching, I do think that she at least tried to apologize in the way that she knew how to, which is so wrong. She barely apologized. She didn't even take accountability for her actions, nothing. But I think that was her actually trying. But at the end of the day, Soo-bin still likes her, so obviously he ate that little apology up and now they're on good terms. And so they basically say goodbye and they leave from the private conversation, and this is where Hee-sun spots that they're both leaving from that little private conversation. And so now Soo-bin and Hee-sun are having a separate conversation, and we get in a confessional that Hee-sun says that she can tell that Soo-bin has always had and still has feelings for Minasu. And she could tell this because no matter how much they hung out, whenever Minasu was there, she would always catch him looking her way. And so yeah, they finally address the fact that Hee-sun has known that Soo-bin has been feeding anger towards Minasu. Meanwhile, in a separate room, Sung-hoon, the New Yorker, the friend zone guy, the what do you want to say? The going through it guy, he basically ends up talking to Egon, the newer guy, and he's talking about how his time in paradise was, but specifically whether or not he thinks Yejin, the girl who we haven't heard from because she hasn't had many connections, he's asking her if she thinks that he's into him. And Egon ends up saying that he doesn't know how Yejin feels towards him, but he doesn't find her personality all that attractive to him. He says it's because he feels like her personality is no fun, and you can kind of tell that the way that he talks, if you compare it to the way he talks to Go-eun versus how he talks to Yejin seems much more reserved and serious, while Go-eun seems more like they joke around a lot, if that makes sense. But then they even cut us to a clip where Yejin is talking about all her insecurities, and Egon is trying his best to reassure her about them, but then she keeps going and she keeps bringing up another one and another one and another one. And it seems that her main insecurity is about her age because she's the oldest woman there, being 30 years old, when there are other women there who are as young as 22 years old. So she's talking about how she feels like her face is sunken and all that stuff, but I'm just like, Yejin girl, this guy Egon already told you to your face that he found you the most attractive. This is even over Go-eun. So even if you have these kinds of insecurities and stuff like that, in this moment, this guy who saw you right away, he didn't see any of that. He just saw you and he was just like, this girl is the most attractive to me. So I'm just like, you should use that to your advantage, and instead of putting yourself down all the time, you should have went ahead and had an actual conversation with him so that you guys could see if you guys had some sort of connection with each other. But even though I say this, it's obvious that things are easier said than done, and it's hard to put aside insecurities no matter how much you want to. Then the next day rolls around and now we're on day 6. So now they're eating breakfast and Hyunwoo is still nervous around Go-eun. And it was cute at first, but now it's starting to feel like it's just too much. Like, go ahead and just give her the fucking cup. Like, are we being dead ass for real right now? You really gotta hype yourself up like that in order to give her this cup. You guys were just having a conversation the day before and it was flowing perfectly fine. So why is it now that it's a new day, you've done reset, you're at your factory settings, and you can't just give her a goddamn cup of water? Meanwhile, Minasu is sitting next to Sung-il, but now that Minasu and Soo-bin have made up, Soo-bin is showing concern for Minasu and he's just like, hey, are you okay? Like, you still don't look well. Are you still sick? And then Minasu is just like, oh, do I look sick? Like, I just didn't really put that much makeup on today. And Soo-bin is just like, oh, it's just called fragile beauty. You're good. And I'm just like, ugh. And Hisa just scoffs. She just was just like, ugh. And I'm just like, LOL. But then the announcer comes back and they basically said that they're gonna have to play a couples game on the beach. So everybody gets up, packs up, and they move over to the beach. And this is a random moment to say that apparently what they're eating in those cans is not tuna. It's in fact chicken breast. So I was just like, oh, okay. I guess that's a little better, but it's just like, still ill. But okay, better than tuna. Because imagine having some hot ass tuna just sitting out and then all of a sudden you gotta crack that shit open. Everything smelling like tuna. Everybody's talking to each other and you expect me to be into you when your breath just smells like straight up fish. I'm good. I'm okay. But now they're talking about this game that they're going to play on the beach, and it's basically that everybody's going to get coupled up and they're going to have 3 rounds where they have to stand on a board and stay in contact with each other without falling off the board. The only problem is that after every round, the board is just going to keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and the goal is to be the very last person remaining. In order to pass the first 2 rounds, you just have to stay on the board for 60 seconds, but when it comes to the 3rd round, it's going to go indefinitely. And right away, I'm like, pick Hyunwoo. Have his big ass carry you on his shoulders, and then right after that, you're going to make him stand on 1 foot. We gonna win this bitch for sure. Trust me, trust me. But they're setting up the couples through matches where they pick in a box and they pull out a ball. Whoever has the same colored ball gets paired up together. And as they're doing these matches, I'm literally in the middle of a yawn, and my yawn gets interrupted. Why? Because why the fuck does Minasu get paired up with Sung-il? Like, what are the fucking chances? And then on the upside of things, Hee-sung gets matched with Subin, but maybe it's only an upside for me because Subin doesn't necessarily seem overly ecstatic about it. But then, even though they've introduced these new people, there's still an uneven amount when it comes to men versus women. So Sung-kun, the New Yorker, he goes out, he pulls a ball, and he ends up getting the very same colored ball as Minasu and Sung-il. So all 3 of them have to be in a team together. And I'm like, you guys are pulling strings, aren't you? Just be honest with me. Be frank, like I can take it. You guys have somebody underneath that box and they're over here feeding these balls over to these participants because there's no way that just happened. But then again, it could have been more dramatic. Like it could have been Minasu with Sung-il and Subin. That would have been something for sure. But meanwhile, I'm dying after this because tell me why in the very next clip, we have Sung-kun, the New Yorker, the friend zone guy, the guy who's been going through it. He's basically just saying, I really don't think this island is for me. And I'm like, yes, like this guy just cannot catch a break. Nothing is going well for him. And he continues and he's talking about it. He's just like, once we were doing the dodgeball game earlier, I pulled the pink ball and that meant that I couldn't even participate in the fucking game. And then afterwards, when everybody was picking their partners for the photo shoot, I went ahead and I had to be in a 3-way between Minasu and Sung-min. And it seems like no matter what, I'm always with a team of somebody. I can never just be by myself with somebody else. Basically, he's saying that he's always the fucking caveat. And at first I thought that Minasu would have the advantage because I thought like, okay, of these guys, you can like choose one person for one round and somebody else for another round. Choose whoever's the best suited for each round. But no. They got all 3 of these motherfuckers trying to balance on one board. Y'all know y'all dead wrong for that. I mean, but shit, it could have been worse. They could have had Hyunwoo's big ass over there somewhere or another trying to balance 3 people on one tiny ass board. But now in both Sung-il and Sung-hoon's confessions, they're talking about how they just want to kick the other person off because they wanted to have Minasu to themselves. Mind you, in my head, I'm like, Minasu don't really want any of y'all. She wants Subin. So no matter what would have happened, it wouldn't have worked out the way y'all wanted it to. Meanwhile, as both these guys are complaining about all of this, Minasu in her confessional, she's just like, you know what? Like, I thought it was great. Everybody had nice, strong muscles. Is there any way to leave Inferno with 2 guys? And now they cut over to the panelists and they're just like, Minasu, enough is enough. But I thought it was funny. Just laugh, guys. Just laugh. But now we get to the final round and all the couples are super close to each other. And Joo-young with the nice smiles and dimples is getting somewhat irritated because she can see that Jae-jin is paired up with Go-eun and they're getting very close and they're basically sandwiching each other. Meanwhile, the fucking trio with Minasu, Sung-il, and Sung-hoon, they're stacked up in a way I didn't even think was possible. They're on top of each other like turtles. Like, y'all ever see images of turtles and they're just all just stacked up on top of each other? That's what they're looking like. But tell me why. Why is Minasu at the bottom? Y'all are so wrong for this. Just fall at this point. If that were me, I'm tipping over immediately. I'm not even trying that because what the fuck type of position are you trying to put me in right now? And 3 teams end up winning the special date. I'll mention them if they end up being important. But then the announcer comes back and tells the participants that there's gonna be another pairing for Paradise that night. Oh, and on top of this, apparently I misunderstood the voting process. Only the very first day was based on a popularity vote. After that, it just comes down to whether or not people mutually pair with each other that they want to go to Paradise together, which in retrospect makes a lot more sense. But then the more I think about it, I'm like, wait, so how did that work and how did that work? So I don't want to think about it too much. Just know that they mutually have to want to go to Paradise with each other. Later, Hyunwoo, the quiet but buff guy, sees Go-eun carrying a heavy ass bag, and instead of getting his ass up to go grab the bag, tell me why he's talking to Sung-hoon talking about that bag looks really heavy, I want to go ahead and carry it for her. Get your ass off the step and go pick up the fucking bags. You big and built for no fucking reason. All that fucking muscle for nothing. Got Go-eun carrying this big ass bag when you know she little as fuck. You ever hesitating ass nigga, you trying to piss me off for this shit for real. Mind you, during all this fucking Egon, the newer guy, goes over and he pulls Go-eun for a chat. But they're chatting it up and they're poking fun at each other as per usual. And this is where Egon basically tells Go-eun that she's the only person that he's interested in. And he tells her the reason why is because he feels like him and Ye-jin just aren't compatible. Meanwhile, Go-eun says that the people that are in her top 3 are him, Egon, Hyunwoo, and Seungmin. And speak of the devil, and he shall come, because why does Seungmin come prodding around the corner and he's talking about can I have a conversation with Go-eun? And again, I'm like, my guy, you have already perched upon thy seats. You have sat down. Just go ahead. Don't even ask at this point. But Egon is just like, yeah, it's fine. It's whatever, because they had basically already finished their conversation by the time Seungmin came. And Seungmin is basically talking to Go-eun and he's just like, you know what? I'm truly fine with whoever you go to paradise with. Like, it's no pressure at all. No pressure. You can go with him, no pressure. Them, no pressure. Truly no pressure coming from me whatsoever. But low-key, I'm gonna need you to lock in and pick me to go to paradise. But their conversation is literally a complete 180 to the conversation Go-eun was just having with Egon, because you could tell that she was chatting up and having a good time with him. But then the moment Seungmin's boring ass comes over here, she's just like, oh yeah, and it's just like, all the fun is gone. You just soaked all the fun. Like, how'd you do that so fucking fast? I'm just like, dude, there's no way. There's no way. Like, I truly can't understand why Seungmin is always in Go-eun's top 3, to the point where I actually feel like he might even be in her #1 position. He seems just overly possessive of her, just too much. It's always fucking there, all the time, always there. But then the time finally comes for them to choose who they want to go to paradise with, and Minasu goes first, and she decides that she wants to go to paradise with Cliffhanger. I'm like, oh my gosh, why is it always a cliffhanger with her? All the time, every single time. Minasu cliffhanger, and low-key, I don't even fucking care who she picks. Like, the way that I saw this episode, I definitely would have thought that the main people in the main storyboard for this episode was gonna be Go-eun, Egon, Hyunwoo, and boring ass Seungmin. So why the fuck, when it's finally time to actually make a cliffhanger, you gonna put Minasu over there talking about some cliffhanger, find out in the next episode? I do not care. Like, the back and forth has become too much for me when it comes to Minasu. Like, in my head, it's like you only truly care about Subin. You don't really care about Sung-il, but you want to win over Minji, which is the reason why you keep on going after him. Hyunwoo, who the fuck is Hyunwoo to you for real? Seung-hoon, you do not like him romantically. You like him as a friend, okay? If anything, it'll be shocking to me if you don't see him as a friend later. So why are we in the same thing over and over and over again, talking about, so who is she gonna pick? Who is she gonna pick? Who is she gonna pick? No matter who she picks, the dynamic is not gonna change. I fear. Like, I wish they would tell us other things about other people, but Minasu was always getting like 50% of the screen time. Mind you, there's like 10 people on this island. I barely even heard anything about these new participants who I thought were gonna shake up the island. They're literally in the background for all of these shots. But that's it for episode 7. If you guys like this video, go ahead and hit the like button to let me know. If you guys really like the video, how about you subscribe so you can watch all my videos? Hello. With that being said, I love you guys so much. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.